Welcome back to our blog, and if you're new, welcome, welcome. I hear from people that new folks are joining and people are passing on the link, and we love that. So please feel free to do that and bring more people into the conversation. This month I've been focusing on the right brain and its amazing capabilities. And the reason for that is because I read a book by Daniel Pink called A Whole New Mind: Why Right-Brainers Will Rule the Future, which is an interesting title. Anyway, in his book, he outlines the importance of the right brain and the shift we've made in our world. And so he tracks and sort of lays out the context, which is we've moved from the agricultural era, the industrial era, into the information era, which is where I thought we were. But in fact, he says we've moved into yet a new era called the conceptual era. Well, this may feel like we're moving at a ferociously fast pace, and perhaps it is. And many of you may feel like I do, which is I'm barely coping with the information age. What the heck is the conceptual age? Well, the conceptual age is the shift from the left brain organized, linear, sequential data information processing, those focuses, to a different focus. A focus on beauty, design, meaning, the big picture, all of those things. Inspiration is another one. Those are the things that matter today. So if you want to know more about just the basic right brain functioning and why we've made this shift into the conceptual era, please see last week's blog, because that'll give you a bit more information. So in his book, Daniel Pink identifies 6 key attributes that he really feels are going to be essential in order to flourish in the future. And so those are what I'm focusing on right now. Last week we started with the first one, design. And I'm hoping those of you that tried out a couple of the exercises started to notice that you were paying attention to design, that you were noticing different details, or maybe you did the exercise to notice what works and what doesn't when it comes to design. All of this is just to enhance our capability in terms of using the right brain to think differently. Well, this week's focus is on story. Now, I know that some of you that are listening are master storytellers. You've been doing it a long time and you love it. I know there's cultures, our First Nations people love stories, and that's the underpinning of how all wisdom and teaching is shared. But the other side is, for some of us who are counselors or therapists, story has come to take on a different meaning. We've seen people get caught or trapped in their story. We've seen people be limited, boxed in, and even sort of locked into a story about who they are that simply isn't true. So story can take on different meaning. In this context, Daniel talks about story in terms of how it works and complements how the right brain works. So I want to read a few things from his book to you. First off, he says, stories are how we remember. And I think all of us can identify with remembering a story and all the information that was in that story much more easily than a string of facts. Most of our experience, he says, our knowledge and our thinking is organized in stories. Interesting to think about. Are you a good storyteller? Are you comfortable sharing information in the form of a story? So, because we've shifted from the information age into the conceptual age, just let's look at what the legacy has been from the information age. He offers that in the information era, facts were the top dog. That's what we paid most attention to. So facts were dependable, stories less. Stories amuse, facts illuminate. Stories divert, facts reveal. Stories are for cover-up, facts are for real. So the information era paid tremendous attention to facts and data. But as we shift out of that, we shift to a different focus. So today, facts are virtually free. We are inundated with information and facts. And in fact, that's actually devalued them in sort of an interesting way because they're so accessible, and for many of us we feel like we're almost drowning in them. Here's another line from Daniel. What begins to matter more than facts is the ability to place those facts in context and to deliver them with emotional impact. So now we get to the kind of the key of it, emotional impact. Today, in this conceptual era, we're looking for meaning for what matters. We want emotional impact. All right, so as we look at this whole idea of story, why is it important? What does it do? How does it optimize the right brain? It allows us the ability to encapsulate, conceptualize, and emotionalize. And those three qualities, bringing concise amounts of data, bringing it all together, contextualizing it and emotionalizing it, is what matters the most in the conceptual era. So now that's interesting when I think of in the role of parent. How do I deliver information to my child? Do I just lean towards facts, or am I able to deliver very important information but with an emotional component? It matters whether you're at the doctor's office and how he's interacting and sharing. It matters in business. It matters in terms of how you're doing a website or even how you're presenting yourself at a job interview. So there's lots of applications for these ideas. All right. So let's move on. I want to read one more thing. When we come to healing, here's an interesting quote. Stories. That's how people make sense of what's happening to them when they get sick. They tell stories about themselves, and our ability as doctors to treat and heal is bound up in our ability to accurately perceive a patient's story. If you can't do that, you're working with one hand tied behind your back. Dr. Howard Brody, family practice physician. Interesting. This is what we're looking for when we are working with health practitioners, that we're really deeply understood and the context of our lives matters. So one last quote before I come to some activities that we could do to strengthen and build our storytelling capability. Last one from Daniel Pink's book. If stories come to you, care for them and learn to give them away where they are needed. Sometimes a person needs a story more than they need food to stay alive. Barry Lopez, author of Arctic Dreams. What a great quote. If a story comes to you, care for it. Learn to give it away where it's needed. And sometimes it's needed more than food itself. So I hope that inspires you to think about your story ability and the stories that you have tucked inside yourself. There's a few activities that Daniel offers. Here's one. Write a mini saga, is what he calls it, 50 words or less. Write a little story and see what you can condense and bring into focus in 50 words or less. Here's a fun one with a group round a dinner table. Give each other a starting line and let the person make up a story that goes with that starting line. Lastly, here's one you might want to check out online, Story Corps. Go to their website and you will find a fabulous website that allows you to actually produce your story and could actually come out and be published. So there's lots of ways to enhance storytelling. I hope this inspires you this week and that you sort of sharpen your perceptions around where could a story be useful. Who could use a story? What stories do I have to share? And let's all start really valuing stories as a powerful way to connect, bring beauty, insight, inspiration into our world. Have a great week, and I'll look forward to you joining me next week.